This is Slam Hockey with your hosts, Peter Bojarinoff and Paul Swinbeck. Welcome to Jablam Hockey, folks. I'm your host, Peter Bojarinoff, and you can find me on Twitter, at Russian98. And I'm with...
Paul Zwambag. You can find me at Zwambag, Zwambag. How's it going, everybody? Peter, how's it going?
I'm alright. It's been a rough couple of days in the world, I would say that. You know?
Yeah, it's been been a rough couple of days for me, too.
Yeah, it has been rough. Just to pass on a sad topic, I know there's been a lot of bad things, in Toronto, passing Rob Ford. It's awful news. Today, the passing of one of my favorite idols growing up, and that was Gary Shandling. I loved the Larry Sanders Show. There's other movies he's been in, but I don't know. I loved him in every way a comedian could love another comedian. I like making jokes, and he was outstanding. He made awkward people become popular, in my opinion, awkward moments. And kind of because of him, I think there was a Seinfeld TV show and so on and so forth. A lot of things became because of Larry Sanders, and it's sad to hear of his passing.
Yeah, sorry to hear that, Shandling family. Too bad.
Yeah, he was great. He was an innovator, a master of comedy. But we have great news. Paul, let him know.
I had a little girl. I have a baby, everybody. It's pretty crazy. Sunday on the 20th, my wife gave birth to Georgia Elizabeth Marjorie. Yeah, so that's how my week's been with a newborn. It's been long days. Kind of tiring, but yeah, awesome news, cool stuff. It's fun.
Georgia.
Oh, that's beautiful. I'm gonna play that for her.
So, how'd you figure out a name for Georgia?
My wife actually came up with it, and she said it.
Any family correlation or any story behind it, or just just like the name?
The Elizabeth Marjorie is family related. My mother's middle name is Elizabeth, and my sister-in-law, so my wife's sister's middle name is Elizabeth, and then both of our grandmas are named Marjorie. So we decided to go with that as the second middle name. Yeah.
Cool. Nice. Congratulations, Paul, and congratulations to your family.
Thank you.
All right, let's get on with the show. Again, people, if you don't know, we've got jablamhockey.com. It's a great website. Paul did a great job on it. And always also go to iTunes, go to our Facebook group as well. And on iTunes, please resubscribe if you haven't already, because we've lost our subscribers by transferring our RSS file to our new website. So resubscribe, rate, and review us on there. What do we have this episode? We're going to be team ISOing the New York Rangers. We've got Prospect of the Week. We're introducing the chopping block. Which GM or coach do we think could be let go at the end of the season? As well, we got Saturday's picks. Saturday is coming up soon. All right, what do we got trending now? Braden Holtby says we weren't the better team after 4-2 win versus the Senators the other day. Backstrom says we haven't played our best hockey since before Christmas, folks. Aren't they having one of the best seasons in NHL history?
And I think he's kind of referencing that they're just not playing good hockey, like a good sense of hockey. They just have so much talent that guys can put the puck in the net all the time. But they're not playing like smart, like positioned hockey like he's grown up. Because like he's Swedish, so they teach you how to play defensively just as much as they teach you offensively. So I think that's what he kind of meant by it. But yeah,
seems. Is it just my mind that I find it rude when a team like that says something like that? Like, how bad is everybody else if they're losing to this team that's playing so poorly? Apparently.
Yeah, no kidding. They're playing so poorly. They got 15 losses on the year. Yeah, rough go.
Oh my god. Yeah. But Paul, seriously speaking, who could upset the Caps in the playoffs? In my opinion, I really think there's two. There's maybe two teams. I think number one, the Rangers are still pretty underrated, in my opinion. I don't even think you think the Rangers are in that good of shape. I still think they're a team that could beat the Caps in a 7-game series. And the other team, in my opinion, that could do it is if Philadelphia finishes in that 8th spot and takes them out. They're just that good of a playoff team.
Yeah, I think the Rangers, they really play on Lundqvist's play. Like, they went out west, and I watched a bunch of those games, and they got outplayed pretty much every single game. They won, I think, 1 or 2 games, but they were outplayed like crazy against those Western teams, and Lundqvist just stood on his head like he normally does. He's so steady in the back end.
Yeah.
Just, he could steal a series on his own no matter who the Rangers play. So I think the Rangers are
definitely a couple of games.
Yeah, I think the Rangers are definitely that team that could steal it, but they don't have to see them till second, third round. So
yeah,
the Flyers that's a good pick. That could easily happen.
Mm-hmm.
Or like Boston, if they somehow get playing Boston, but that's very unlikely because of the way the standings are worked out right now. But second round, if they got to play Boston, that could be a good matchup too.
Yeah. What do you think would happen if the Pens played the Caps?
Oh, jeez. There'd be a ton of scoring.
Yeah, it would be a great series to watch, though, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But do you think the Pens could beat the Caps? I still think there's a chance they could.
Yeah. I think we could give them a run for their money. But if we start running and gunning against them, they got just as much talent as we do flying up the ice. So
better on the back end. So, all right, we'll see. So you know what? If the Caps think they're that bad, what about the Hawks? They've lost like 5 of the last 6 games. They're pretty struggling right now.
Yeah, they lose to a lot of really good teams, and that shouldn't be happening when you're one of the best teams in the league. You should be winning the tough opponent games, and they definitely aren't.
Yeah. I don't think this is a big thing to them, but I just still don't see how well the Hawks are going to play in the playoffs, going deep again and again and again. I think that does take a toll on a player.
Yeah, definitely. Like they've now lost home ice advantage, and I don't know if they can get it back. Like they're down to 8 games left, and they're 4 games back from St. Louis and 6 back from Dallas. So that's a tough hill to climb, especially with these 3-point games. So I think they lost home ice advantage, and they play well at home. So
yeah, that always
they
helps
really
them
need
a lot.
that advantage. Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see how they go down the stretch, and then see who they match up against. All right, so Rick Fox says esports is going to be bigger than the NHL in 2 years. Paul, do you know what esports is?
I have no idea what esports is.
All right, esports is basically like electronic sports. It's gameplay, but in a bigger viewing. So if you go on YouTube, you can type in esports. A big one right now is Twitch, I believe. If you go on Twitch, it's been around for many years now, and it's been on YouTube for a couple years now too. You can watch gamers play, and there's a lot of tournaments, especially in Korea, and now it's coming to North America. There's going to be some in LA. There might be one in I believe Mandalay Bay. That's where usually there's UFC and boxing matches and stuff. But there's going to be tournaments. Nerds are playing big games on like World of Warcraft and all those other games you hear about, and people are going to go watch them. If you can go online. I put it on my Facebook. I think I might even put it on Twitter. But there are lineups to go watch them. People are dressed in like cosplay characters to watch other nerds play these games.
It's crazy.
It's pretty wild. But apparently it's going to be a big thing, and apparently guys like Rick Fox and other guys in the NBA, they have their own, like myself, I would play NHL 16, I go online, I play with some guys. I'm probably not that very good, I'm all right. But I wouldn't mind seeing that, and that's what these NBA players have done Rick Fox, ex-NBA player, and I think he's getting Shaquille O'Neal involved. Mark Cuban is also involved. They've set up where athletes are playing other athletes in tournaments. So that's pretty cool. And this could be easily the future of maybe sports. I don't know if they're considered athletes per se, but this could be a big future. And he says it's going to be bigger than the NHL within 2 years. I think maybe that's more in the American side, maybe more in LA, but it's very possible.
Isn't Rick Fox Canadian?
Yes, Rick Fox is Canadian.
So does he know how popular hockey is in Canada? So he's got to be talking about the USA, because...
Yeah, I think he's an LA guy now, pretty much. Played for the LA Lakers and stuff. And I think they own their own esports company, I believe. And it's based out of LA. So I think it's pretty much they mean more of that part, or at least in the States for NHL. But other people have said it's going to be as big as NBA baseball. I don't know if that's true. That's really big. But maybe 10 years down the road that'll be true. I don't know. But it sure looks that way. And in my opinion, I wouldn't mind. I think, to me, it seems a little boring. But I wouldn't mind seeing for an hour or two some guys playing like a team, a sport, and then watching on a big screen or stuff, and you have real announcers announcing the EA Sports hockey game or basketball or football game. That'd be pretty cool. That'd be all right. But I don't know if I could watch 5-6 hours or a whole weekend of a tournament. But see the finals or something would be pretty cool, actually.
You could do play-by-play, Peter.
Oh, I wish I could do the play-by-play of any game. But yeah, that would be exciting.
There you go. New job.
You know what? It probably will be in the future. I could see people going and moving into that kind of direction. All right. Kincaid, the New Jersey Devils goaltender. Didn't he just get first star of the week a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
So now he just said after his last performance, I'm the worst player of the week. After allowing 13 goals in the last 3 games. Paul, that was a good move that we told you to trade Kincaid, right?
Yeah, definitely. We made that trade right at my trade deadline, and thankfully we got rid of him.
Yeah, so that's funny. Maybe there should be an award for being the worst player of the week. It would make players more accountable, not wanting to be one of the worst 3 stars of the week or something.
Yeah, I wonder how they would decide that, because that'd be a good one. We should start doing that.
You could do it easily for goalies, I would say, because if you have a lot of bad games. For players, it'd be a little harder. I guess the only thing you can really look at is plus minus, or just being cold for a long time. But for scorers, it's easy to be cold for a week, right? So It might have to be after a month. Worst players of the month. That would make sense. Worst players of the month. All right, moving on. Paul was right, folks. He said the Islanders will miss the playoffs. They are collapsing big time right now, and it looks like they could miss the playoffs. I wouldn't be surprised if they missed the playoffs right now.
Me either, and I hope they do. I'm not a fan of the Islanders, and I don't think I think they're just going to keep falling. And losing Halak was big. Grice played half and half, but
I was saying the same thing. People were chirping me on Twitter when I was saying that also as soon as Halak got injured, and Paul said before Halak got injured, but I think that has a lot to do with it too. A lot of people think the Islanders haven't been playing well for more than a month or two. So, but with Halak being out, and he was very sharp before he got injured. I think they won 4-5 or 5-6 when Halak got injured. Now pretty much the opposite since Halak got injured, and Grice hasn't been that bad. But again, it's all about confidence and faith in your goaltender. And for some reason, NHL teams, even if their backup goaltender is still playing all right or stellar, they play weaker. They don't. It's just like they don't have the confidence to play a strong, smart game as a team unit in front of the backups.
Yeah, and the backup will let in a soft goal first 5 minutes of the game, and that just ruins a team.
They just deflate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's the truth right there. And so, what do you think? You think Detroit is going to barely hang on, maybe, and Philadelphia might get into that 7th spot, and the Islanders might fall out? That's the way it looks like it to me.
Yeah, the only way the Islanders really stay in is if Detroit falls off just as badly as the
Yeah,
Islanders. And they're both
yeah.
not playing well. Detroit's not playing very well, and Mrazek has got
Either.
sick, and now he's gone cold, and yeah, he's just not playing very well. And yeah, it's going to be a battle for that bottom spot, and I think Philadelphia's in the battle, Islanders, Detroit, but I think
Yeah,
Philly's just going to skyrocket in these last
yeah.
10 games.
They're playing really well right now. So, yeah. All right. This episode, we're gonna team ISO the New York Rangers. In my opinion, I still feel, like I said earlier, I still feel like the Rangers are a big underdog going into these playoffs. Everybody's talking about the Capitals. They're in the same division. But aren't the Rangers, they're going to clinch within like seconds almost of the playoffs. Statistically, they're the second best team in the Eastern Conference. And they haven't looked like it. And that's a good thing. They haven't played at their 100% yet. And they're still winning games. Maybe it has a lot to do with Lundqvist, yes. But if they put the pieces together, they're going to be huge. They're going to be tough to beat. And the only other team, like I said, that can maybe beat the Capitals is the Flyers. But Rangers are one of the teams that could take them out. I had them second in the division. That's pretty much where they're going to finish. What do you think, Paul?
I didn't think they were going to be as good as they were.
Mm-hmm.
Just because they're getting older. Like Nash has fallen off his game big time.
Yeah.
And their defense are I'm not thrilled with their defensemen.
Really?
They're not flashy defensemen.
They don't need to be.
I know, and that's why I'm not thrilled with them. But that's the way the league is going, is flashy offensive moving defensemen, and they don't have that. They just have steady defensemen. Like,
Yeah. Then you know what? In my opinion, that's kind of a good thing. In my opinion, they really do have one of the top 6 best defenseman units in the NHL. In my opinion, they're not flashy, and that's what kind of makes them sneaky good. They have McDonough and everything, but Yandel's the only one that's pretty solid offensively. He's like top 15 in league in points, while still playing under 20 minutes a game. He's totally under the radar, playing a lot less than any of the other top 15 defensemen in points, by a lot. He's getting older, though, and he's a UFA, so maybe he's playing better because of that. Dan Boyle is still playing pretty good at his age, but he is getting older. Then they got another guy, an underrated Kevin Klein, another Predators graduate. He's top 10 in plus minus in the league. And then you have, again, underrated Mark Stahl and my boy Dan Girardi, both stalwarts in their own end. Yeah, they might not be hugely visible, but again, in my opinion, that's a good thing as a defenseman. Girardi's at like top 15 in the league in hits and 3rd in blocks. That's a solid defense, in my opinion.
yeah,
In the whole league, Paul, who do you think has a better defense in the Rangers overall, top 6 combined?
Chicago. Chicago's got a pretty good defense.
Yeah, do you think their bottom pairing is comparable to the Rangers' bottom pairing?
See, I'm not a fan of Kevin Klein or Dan Boyle, so
Yeah.
like Kevin Klein's playing way better than what he's ever played before.
But he's been doing it in a few years, and even in the playoffs.
Yeah, I guess so. I just not a big fan of him. I don't know.
Yeah, you're not a fan of some decent defensemen, so I don't know about you, Paul. But again, then there's Ryan McDonough. He's so deservingly of the captaincy. He's another one where at first glance you just think he's a pretty good average defenseman. But he has so many intangibles. He does so many little things right on the ice, winning one-on-one battles. He even ends one-on-two battles. He's just in the right place at the right time, and I think he's like second in the league in plus minus, and it makes sense. He's just that good.
Yeah, I do agree with that.
You can't say that much.
Yeah, he's a great defenseman. He's definitely leading that back end top 6. So yeah, I'm a fan of Ryan McDonough too.
Yeah, but again, it all starts and ends with Hank, the King of Kings, Lundqvist. He's having another pretty solid season, just a little bit under the radar, but he's just that good. And that amazing that I know, again, when people look at shutouts, they don't think it's such a big thing. And maybe it isn't with Lundqvist because sometimes he might allow one goal in a game very, very, very often, and especially when it comes to in the playoffs. But he's that damn good.
Yeah.
He's just amazing.
What goalie would you want more than Lundqvist in a 1-0 game where you have the one? Like you got a one goal lead.
Yeah.
That guy shuts down games. Like he's just unreal when it's a one goal game.
I still have more faith in a Lundqvist than a Holtby or a Crawford,
Yeah.
in my opinion, right now. In a game 7, I probably want Lundqvist in
Yeah.
over anybody.
I think even over Price.
Yeah, yeah. And then in offense, the Rangers aren't putting it together. Nash is on and off, even with injuries. But they're led by a sneaky, short little Norwegian guy by the name of Matt Zuccarello, another underrated guy. I don't know why people don't talk about him enough. I think he's led the Rangers a few times now in points over the season. He is good.
Yeah, he's sneaky good. Like
Yeah.
nobody really notices him on the score sheet, like in fantasy, anything. Like he's just sneaky good.
Yeah, he is really good. He's underrated, and maybe it's just hard to cover him because he's so short. But he is really good.
And Derek Brassard plays unbelievable at home. His home away splits are unreal.
Yeah, he's a good two-way player too. So Brassard's a good center. All right, Paul, what do you have for prospects for the Rangers?
There's this kid, Pavel Buchnevich, who's playing for SKA St. Petersburg. They wanted him to stay in North America this past year after training camp, but he said he would not play in the AHL. He would either play NHL or KHL.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't make the team, so he went to the KHL and played on the worst team in the league, and then got traded to one of the best teams in SKA St. Petersburg, and they're now in the semifinals. Down 2-0, but he's having a pretty good year. If they lose, they might bring this guy over for the playoff run / playoffs. He's he could fit into the roster, no problem, and he's going to bring a ton of offense.
Yeah.
Brady Shea, spelled Skjei. He's on the back end. He's been called up a couple games and then gets sent right back down, but he's a great back end guy. He's only played 4 games this year. Doesn't have a point, but he is an offensive guy, and like you say, it's hard to crack that top 6. So
Yep.
obviously this kid's gonna take a couple years, and if like Yandel disappears to a different team for money, then this Brady Shea could definitely play on the back end next year. And then they got a goaltender, Magnus Hellberg, second round, 38th pick. So they spent pretty decent pick, especially considering you have King Hank. So I think he's going to be an NHL goaltender. I don't think he's going to be like an elite, but he could definitely be like a top 30 when he's playing. So maybe they trade him for another pick or more picks, or just like they did with Cam Fowler. So Magnus Hellberg, yeah, he's going to be a decent goalie.
Nice. You know who I like? I kind of like Nicholas Jensen.
Yeah.
He was drafted by the Canucks, 29th overall in 2011, and he was just recently traded for Emerson Edom to the Rangers from the Canucks.
Yeah.
He hasn't really taken that next step, but I saw a couple of years ago, obviously, of course, when he played for the Danes in the World Juniors. He looked pretty good there. He flies like the wind, but he has the body type to be a bit of a power forward. He doesn't really play like one, though. So that's kind of where he needs to find his game. He needs to be maybe a little more versatile and being able to play a speedy winger as well as a bit of a power forward. That might help him find a role better in the NHL. But maybe in a few years down the road, I could still see him being a second-line winger. But it might take him a few years down the road. But I still think he's got some good skills.
Yeah, and he's got speed, and Rangers always bring speed into their lineup. They're a fast team, so...
Jasper Fast.
Yeah. Magnus Hellberg was actually drafted by the Nashville Predators, so...
Yes, that's correct.
So they know how to draft goalies and move them along. I think they've done it 3 or 4 times in the past 10 to 12 years. So, yeah, watch out for Magnus Hellberg. He's going to be a good goalie.
Yeah. Watch out for the Rangers as well. I really think they're going to be sneaky good in the playoffs. I think they can get past the first round, and I think they could be one of the teams that could take the Rangers out. So, watch out for them. I will not be shocked to see the Rangers in the Stanley Cup final this year. I will not be shocked. Yeah.
Wow.
I do have the Capitals above them, and Tampa looks good. There's a few other teams that look good, but it's a thick and thin. This conference, it's very up for grabs. Capitals haven't proven that they can be that team to go very deep, but they have the team right now to do so. But I still think Rangers or maybe the Flyers could be one of the teams that could upset them. And if that happens, I think the Rangers could go further in the playoffs. So watch out for them. They've got a few good prospects, but I think the team that they have right now still could go deep. All right, next we got the chopping block. Which GMs or coaches do we think have their jobs on the line after the season is over? Right now, we're just going to talk about the teams right now that are currently out, because there's some, and we'll talk about it later on in a few weeks, because there might be some teams that are in the playoffs that might lose their coach or GM. But let's go for the ones that are out right now. Number one, in my opinion, it's got to be John Benning, the GM of the Canucks. I don't know. It just seems like every move he makes is a bad move. And I think it's time for the Canucks to go in a different path. The signing of Miller, the trading of Kessler, the trading of Eddie Locke, it just doesn't seem like any move he does is right.
Yeah, he's made a lot of really interesting moves, and I think it's because he's been trying to rebuild, but not rebuilding in the right way. I think he's kind of taking the mentality of how Toronto thought they could rebuild, but
you just look at the trading deadline as a microscope of everything that he's done so far. He didn't move anybody.
Yeah.
Like, at least recoup a pick. Like, in my opinion, it was a bad trade to James Reimer to San Jose, but this might be good for Reimer's experience. It shows that the team wants him to move on maybe and get better. And all they really, in my opinion, recouped a 4th round pick. But they did something. They know that Reimer's a UFA at the end of the summer. What did they do with Hamhuis, Verbata? Easily pieces that they could have recouped some good, decent picks.
Yeah, and they had a kid, Jacob Markstrom, that could easily have ran a net, and then they went out and signed Ryan Miller. Like, an old Ryan Miller that I don't think has a lot of game left. And
he was never proven in the playoffs when it matters as well. So that was a big question mark in my opinion. And why not go 1 and 2 with Locke and Markstrom? I don't know why they didn't do that.
Yeah,
very odd.
They moved so many good goalies out of that organization. Like,
yeah,
their goalie scouting or goalie coaching is very, very confusing.
Yeah. So, all right. What else? Another guy I had is Dave Cameron. Just within last week, you can see that the owner and the GM, they are not happy with the team. I don't know what they want out of these kids. I think they overran with how good they can play last year. They weren't totally expected to make the playoffs. They did a good job, especially leaning on Hammond, who was stellar in the stretch. So I think they overshot what they expected this year. They don't have the right pieces, especially right now. A lot of the guys are young too, so you can't lean on them to be in the prime of their careers. But I think an easy change for the Senators is Dave Cameron.
Yeah, and the young guys like Stone and Hoffman are still having great years, 60 points and 53 points, that's still pretty good.
Yeah, their defense isn't very good, and some of them are very young, and then again they're middle of the level young guys like Zibanejad and the other guys as forwards. They got to take the next step, but you can't expect them all to take the same step at the same time. They've had injuries. I think Turris was injured. MacArthur was injured. So those are big leaders on the front end. And when those guys go down, and then you put it all on these young guys, that might be a little too much. That's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, and their back end is not very strong. Like, besides Carlson, they don't have much defenseman depth. So, and like, what happened to Curtis Lazar? Like, I thought he was going to take a giant step this year, but
Yeah, well, a lot of people thought a lot of guys were going to take that giant step, but it can't all just happen. It's not magic. It takes time. So yeah, he's another guy. Is there a guy that another guy that you thought that could be on the chopping block?
not really. Like, when you asked me these questions, I kind of immediately thought Jim Benning from Vancouver, like,
Yep.
easily. But a lot of the basement teams are teams that are in full rebuild with new management. Like Toronto, Buffalo, Columbus has Torts behind the bench that they just brought in. Montreal, like, you kind of figured Montreal would probably, I don't know if they'd move their GM, so maybe Michel Therrien's going.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of put.
I think he is. I don't know. What do you think with what he said with Therrien?
Yeah, like that he's guaranteed till the end of the year, and it's like, well, why do you guarantee that? Like, he's on a contract, so that's kind of a given that he gets to play, like, coach out his contract. But yeah, that's probably a good bet that Michel Therrien's not going to be behind the bench of the Canadians next year.
Yeah. First month, I know Price was injured, but it's basically, like I said before, the worst collapse in NHL history this season what the Canadians have done. They were first in the NHL in the first week of December, and now they're way down there. I think they were the worst team in the whole NHL for the, like, January, a bit of that end of December, January, maybe in February. So it was really bad. And again, him putting Galchenyuk on the third line, and the fans. I think the fans they've wanted this guy gone for a long time.
Yeah.
So I will be slightly shocked if Therrien is behind the bench in October.
Yeah. But then,
I
like,
really think so.
And then on the west side, like, Edmonton's got new management. They're not going to change anything up, even though they had a horrible year. Winnipeg, maybe Paul Maurice, but they were in the playoffs last year. Yeah, they failed miserably in the playoffs, but and they lost their starting goaltender Pavlik, so that's another, like, Carey Price.
I like Maurice as a coach, though. I think he's done a pretty decent job with the Jets. It's been a struggle this year a little bit, but they're still pretty young.
Yeah, and they got a lot of young guys that came in and stepped up, so I can't really see anything else in the Western.
They have a good team. The Jets have a good team, though. Ehlers, Scheifele, they're going to be a good team in a few years. So
even like Joel Armia and, like, Scott Kosmachuk's now up there, bringing up a lot of young guys that are definitely NHL players. So,
and hopefully Hellebuck can be that number one, like, top 10 goalie in the NHL, and that'd be huge for them.
Yeah, and they even have, like, Eric Comrie down in the AHL as well. So their goaltender depth is pretty deep. They just got to move out Pavlik, I think.
Cool. Well, those are the guys we picked for a chopping block, and we're going to revisit this again mid-playoffs, because I think there could be a few guys, few GMs, few coaches that could be on the chopping block for those teams. So we'll see that. And again, I was even thinking earlier, I'm like, yeah, shouldn't that Wild coach be like, oh yeah, that's right, they did. They moved out Yo. So we'll revisit it in the playoffs. All right, let's go to Saturday's picks. Paul, who'd you have? The first game, Winnipeg at Buffalo.
I'm going with the Sabres, just because I don't think Winnipeg. I'm not a fan of Winnipeg Jets right now. Like, Pavlik, I just don't like as a goalie, and the Sabres are playing decent hockey. They're 5-3-2 in the last 10, so I'm going with the Sabres at home.
I am going the same way. The Sabres are actually playing pretty good hockey lately, so I won't be surprised to see them win in Buffalo. Next, we got Pittsburgh at Detroit. This is a bit of a tough one. Detroit needs to start winning some games to find a playoff spot, but Pittsburgh is playing so well, so I'm going with Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I'm going with my Penguins as well.
Yeah, they're the hottest team right now in the NHL. Right, in the last 7 games, I think 6 out of 7. Right?
In the last 10 games, they're 8-2. So they did
Wow,
lose.
they're playing really.
They did lose Thursday night to New Jersey, 3-0. But we don't play well
Yeah,
against the
and
Devils.
New
So.
Jersey's odd. Yeah, New Jersey's they're an odd team because they've had some really strong games out of nowhere lately too. So we'll see. All right,
Yeah,
Minnesota at Colorado. Who do you have, Paul?
I have Colorado. This is going to be a great game. They're fighting for that last playoff spot. So I'm going with
Yep.
the Avalanche at
This,
home.
yeah, I'm going with the same with the Avs. This should be the game to watch, in my opinion. This would be cool if the NHL could put these as the last game of the season, but it would be cooler to see whoever wins this game gets that last spot because basically it's only a fight between the Wild and Colorado, and why not have that happen? Wouldn't it be cool if the NHL had a tiebreaker match and it was those two teams that were tied for eighth to finish the season? I would rather have that than them going with goal differential. That team was better at scoring goals at home.
Yeah, and like the regular overtime wins. Like that.
Yeah, this
But
would be better in my opinion. They play a tiebreaker match. Yes, start the playoffs. Sorry scheduling, or sorry for those two teams, but they have to play Monday night. Minnesota at Colorado. Whoever has that slight advantage gets the home game, and they have to play each other for that last game. That would be excellent hockey, and that would be more exciting to watch than a Game 7, in my opinion, because it's just a one game off. It's like watching college basketball.
Yeah, I think a couple of years ago there was a game that actually was like that, but it was part of the regular season. I think it was like Philadelphia and
Yeah.
Montreal or something, and it went into a shootout, which made it even crazier. And yeah, it was really fun to watch that game. So yeah, I remember that pretty
Yeah.
fondly.
That would be excellent. So we both pick Colorado. All right, Dallas at San Jose. I'm going with San Jose, even though Dallas is playing a lot better recently. I do think the game will end in this will be a bit of an OT game, but I'm going to go with San Jose. They've been playing really well, especially on Saturdays.
Yeah, I'm taking the Sharks as well.
All right, Rangers at Montreal. Who do you have, Paul?
I'm going with the Rangers. Montreal is just not a good team. Did you hear what Guy Lafleur said the other day? The Montreal Canadiens are 4 lines of fourth liners.
Fourth liners?
Yeah. Every single
harsh.
every single line is a fourth line. It's like, whoa, that's a little harsh. But he played on some pretty epic teams, so
Yeah, I don't know what he's comparing it against. The all-time best like Habs with him in there, or the new NHL with a salary cap.
yeah, like he played on teams that were stacked because they got all the French Canadians. Like they had 4 lines of first liners, but
Yeah.
I can't consider that. It's maybe Therrien's playing Galchenyuk on the fourth line, and that's why he's calling him a fourth liner. But I don't think Galchenyuk's a fourth line guy, or Pacioretty. Like silly
Yeah.
thing to say, Lafleur. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I love watching him though, Mr. Spinorama. All right, Anaheim at Ottawa. The Ducks are kind of struggling, on this road trip versus these weak Eastern teams like Montreal and Toronto, and now they're going to be playing Ottawa. So I gotta say that they beat Ottawa this time. The Ducks have to win this game.
Yeah, I'm going with the Ducks as well. They're still trying to fight to get that first spot in the Pacific, and San Jose's hot on their tails, so they gotta keep pace with those teams. So I'm taking the Ducks.
Yeah, they got to stay up there. All right, Florida at Tampa Bay. What do you have, Paul?
I'm taking the Panthers.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, little underdog. They're actually tied in points, so I can't really say.
Yeah, I'm
an
going with
underdog.
T-Bay. They're the home team. I'm just picking it there. But this is shaping up like a nice little rivalry right now. The Panthers are heading towards their prime with all these nice young kids, and Tampa Bay is in their prime. So this could be a good rivalry. And there already is a little bit, but it should be better for the next few years, and this should be a good game to start.
Yeah, hopefully they meet up in the playoffs. That'd be enjoyable.
Yeah, that would make it a stronger rivalry. Yes, I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
All right, we split finally, I think. All right, St. Louis at Washington.
Going
How
with the
can you not
Caps.
go with the Caps?
Yeah.
Yeah,
The terrible Caps that haven't been playing hockey good since Christmas. Yeah, those guys.
yeah. It made me question my pick, Paul. Are they that bad?
Yeah.
How are they going to lose this game at home? So I don't know, but I have to go with the Caps. I think I missed a game just because when I'm looking at games, I have them at the top. But it's the Bruins at the Leafs. You got to go with the Bruins. They're fighting for that top spot, even though the Leafs are playing very well lately.
No, doesn't stop me from not picking them. I'm taking the Bruins.
Yeah, so the Leafs are playing really well lately. They're actually playing a tough game tonight versus the Ducks. It's a close game. But yeah, I'm going to go with the Bruins. They're fighting for a top high spot, home ice advantage in the playoffs they want. So going to go with the Bruins, both of us.
You don't want to tell You don't want to tell the listeners what the score of the game is while we're recording this?
Well, Jake Gardiner just made a Jake Gardiner defensive play and gave the puck away in his own zone, and the Ducks tied the game 4-4 right now as we are speaking. And the Ducks have scored a goal. Goal scored by the forward I can't see. They're all on top of each other right now, and the Ducks have come back to take the lead over the Maple Leafs as we speak right now.
And the Leafs were up 3-1. Ridiculous.
Yeah, looks like Brandon Peary scored. I've totally lost, but Peary plays for the Ducks now, folks. A depth line just scored for the Ducks right now. So it looks like Sean Horkoff tipped it, and Peary puts it in on the side of the net. Yeah, so it looks like the Ducks are going to win this game. Another late collapse by the Leafs. Oh well, what are you going to do? They're kids there, and Jake Gardner's playing defense. So not a huge fan of Jake. He's got lots of skill, but on the back end, he's not that good. All right, let's go back to the picks. Did we do the Islanders at Carolina?
No, that's where we left off.
Perfect. So I'm going with the Islanders because they need to pick their pace back up, and they need to keep that last playoff spot alive, or their playoff spot alive.
I'm going with the Hurricanes. They still think they got a chance, and the Islanders, I have to stick with my guns that they're falling out of the playoffs, so they got to lose to these worst teams. So I'm going with the Hurricanes.
There we go. Columbus at Nashville. Who do you have, Paul?
The Predators. They're way better than the Blue Jackets. There's no reason why they should lose this game.
The Preds are playing very good hockey, as we've said the last few weeks, and the Blue Jackets are just falling apart. They're looking for a really good pick in the draft lottery. So, yeah, we're both going with the Preds. Chicago at Calgary. I got to expect the Hawks are going to turn around. They need to for the playoffs. Got to go with the Hawks in Cowtown.
Wow, I'm going with Calgary.
Yeah.
They play well at home. They're 20-15-3 at home. That's a good record for a low team.
Yeah, I was iffy about picking the Hawks, but I do expect them to start picking up, and they're usually pretty good on big games. So, in my opinion, this is an important game for them. So they got to turn around. All right, Philadelphia at Arizona. This is a tough game just because Arizona is all right, and they could win this game, but Philadelphia is flying right now. I don't know how you cannot pick them.
Yeah, I'm going with the Flyers as well.
Flyers, they want to keep that playoff spot alive, so they got to win this game. And last but not least, the Oilers at LA. The Kings are playing their solid brand of cycle-dominant hockey, and it looks like they're prime and ready for the playoffs. So I got to go with the Kings.
Yeah, they clinched earlier this week, and yeah, I'm going to go with the Kings as well. It's weird to see that they clinched so early. The LA Kings normally wait till closer to playoffs to clinch their spot, but Oilers just aren't playing good hockey still. I don't know how. They're just a bad team.
I guess the LA clinched just because of the whole divisional stipulations for the NHL, right? And their teams in their division, most of those Canadian teams that are way at the bottom, so it was much easier for them to clinch because of those rules, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, there it is. And Paul, do you have a prospect of the week for us?
I do, and it's going to be our final prospect of the week because the CHL playoffs have now started. They started tonight on Thursday night, so Next
Nice.
week, we're going to, instead of Prospect of the Week, we're going to do a quick junior recap just to let you know what's going on in the CHL and series wrapping up and who's having a good series. But for this week, Prospect of the Week is Tyler Soy from the Victoria Royals, the WHL. The Victoria Royals are just playing dominant hockey. They're going to go deep into the WHL playoffs. He's undrafted, born in British Columbia. 3 games last week, 5 goals, 4 assists for 9 points. So an undrafted kid scoring 9
Nice.
points in 3 games definitely deserves Prospect of the Week. So Tyler Soy is that guy.
Nice. Congratulations, Tyler Soy. And of course, as per usual, our Saturday's picks and our Prospect of the Weeks are always on our website, jablamhockey.com. Go check it out, folks. And that's it for this episode. Next episode will be Team ISOing the Tampa Bay Lightning. Paul will be bringing it back his fantasy up and down because it's playoffs going on there. It'll be more playoff related for the fantasy picks. And of course, we're going to have soon our playoff pool recommendations coming soon. I have my own. I'm already getting ready for it. I'm itching and scratching. I can't wait for playoffs to start. And we'll also be talking about next episode goaltender situations. Teams that are running with 2 goalies, like the San Jose Sharks, like the St. Louis Blues, who we think they will lean on more coming playoff time. All right? See you next time, folks.
Bye.